What have I done? What has happened to me? Who am I? It's amazing. I cherish every single moment of it. But at 78 years old, Sally Field has nothing left to prove. 2 Oscars, decades of unforgettable roles, and a reputation as one of Hollywood's most beloved actresses. But behind the applause and heartfelt performances lies a side of Sally that the public rarely sees. One side remembers every betrayal, every insult, every co-star who crossed the line. And now, as she has grown older and wiser, Sally Field finally reveals the names of the 6 actors she dislikes the most. These are not just minor arguments or fleeting disagreements. These are deeply painful clashes, some on set, some behind the scenes, that shaped her career and haunted her long after the cameras stopped rolling. You might think you know Hollywood, but this list will change everything. Let's get started. The heartbreaker, Burt Reynolds. Their romance was like gold in the tabloids. Sally Field and Burt Reynolds, the power couple of the late 70s. On screen, they were charming, playful, and irresistibly captivating. Smokey and the Bandit became a cultural phenomenon, partly because their chemistry seemed so genuine. But behind the curtain, the reality was much more troubling. Sally referred to Burt as controlling, a man who loved to dominate and belittle anyone who threatened his attention, even her. He constantly put her down, mocked her appearance, doubted her intelligence, and undermined her acting in subtle yet profound ways. He would make sarcastic compliments in interviews, then return home with cold silence or passive-aggressive comments. In her memoir In Pieces, Sally peeled back the glamorous facade of Hollywood. She revealed that Burt didn't allow her to speak freely, interrupting her mid-sentence and dismissing her decisions, both professionally and personally. He wanted her by his side, smiling and silent. She described the feeling as being a valuable possession, something to show off, not a person to be respected. Worse still, he manipulated her emotions. One moment he was charming and affectionate, the next he would reject love as a punishment. Over time, her self-esteem began to dwindle. Even at the height of her fame, she often felt invisible standing next to him. She admitted that she never truly felt seen. I was there, but not really me. Not the complete me. Despite all those years together, Sally later confessed that she was never sure who Burt Reynolds really was. The man admired by the public was not the one who came home at night. But she kept trying. She really did her best to make it work. I want to love him. I truly love him. But he has hurt me. He might be the world's thief, but to Sally, he is just a masked sorrow, and he is just the beginning. The egotistical Tommy Lee Jones. On the Backroads set, Sally Field came in with great hopes. It was a realistic, unique script, an opportunity to deeply explore the character in a truly profound way. She was ready to collaborate to create something meaningful. But instead of connection, she received a wall of silence. And that wall was named Tommy Lee Jones. From day one, Sally described him as contemptuous, not just professionally but personally as well. He barely paid attention to her during rehearsals, didn't chat, and refused to engage in the typical back-and-forth activities actors do to build trust in a demanding scene. He came to shoot, score, deliver lines, and leave. No warmth, no respect, just coldness. For an actress who built her career on emotional authenticity and open performance, Tommy Lee Jones's behavior was astonishing. She was not just acting with a cold character. She was acting in front of a cold person. Co-stars are supposed to lift each other up. He made her feel like a burden. Later, Sally revealed that she would try to initiate conversations between takes, asking questions about their characters, even telling light-hearted jokes to ease the tension. But Jones wouldn't take the bait. Sometimes he wouldn't even look at her. She said he treated her as if she didn't belong on his set, as if she were beneath him. Critics panned backroads when the film was released, citing a lack of chemistry between the lead actors. What the public didn't know was that the problem wasn't the script. It was the coldness when the cameras stopped rolling. Sally once said, "We were supposed to play two broken people learning to love. But I was playing alone." Even while maintaining professionalism throughout the filming, she admitted that the experience drained her. The atmosphere was not only cold, but also isolating. For Sally, who always craved connection, that emotional distance felt like destruction. After Backroads, she never worked with Tommy Lee Jones again. And when asked about the experience in the years that followed, she never got angry. But the subtle coldness in her words spoke volumes. She never forgot the feeling of coldness in that room. But not all of her grudges were silent. The attention thief, Robert Blake. During the filming of Say Goodbye, Maggie Cole, Sally Field encountered one of the most unpredictable personalities she had ever met. Robert Blake. Known for his intense acting methods and unpredictable moods, Blake brought not only an element of surprise to his performances, but also infused that energy into every corner of the set. Right from the start, Sally struggled to find her rhythm. Blake would change lines without warning, veering off script in the middle of scenes and sabotaging carefully planned shots with unscripted behaviors. What seemed like spontaneous creativity to him, Sally viewed as pure chaos. She accused him of sabotaging her everywhere, not just in front of the cameras but also behind the scenes. Worse still, his behavior wasn't limited to just her. Crew members reported frequent outbursts, criticisms, and sudden mood swings, creating a hostile atmosphere for everyone involved. One moment, he would be quiet and focused. The next, he'd be yelling at the lighting technician or storming off over a minor disagreement. Sally, already under immense pressure from a demanding role, found herself playing peacemaker just to keep the production going. But that was a losing battle. The tension seeped into every shot, and the cracks quickly became impossible to hide. Eventually, the project collapsed. The film was shelved before it could even air. A victim of dysfunction, spiraling out of control. For most actors, this would be a career setback. But for Sally, it was deeper than that. Later, she described that experience as not just frustrating but also traumatic. She mentioned that there are actors who simply act, and then there are those who try to make everyone else feel small, so they feel big. Blake was the latter kind. Those words were not just sharp. They felt personal and carried a heavy weight. A woman who had endured more than just artistic differences. She left Say Goodbye, Maggie Cole, with just one vow. She would never again endure chaos disguised as genius. But not all conflicts began on set. Some started during award season, the bitter rival, Shirley MacLaine. The world saw them as the dream duo in Steel Magnolia. Two Hollywood icons appearing on screen in a story of love, loss, and resilience. But behind the scenes, the relationship between Sally Field and Shirley MacLaine was anything but warm. Right from the moment the cameras started rolling, the tension was palpable. Sally approached the film with emotional sensitivity, deeply connecting with her role as Maine, a grieving mother. She wanted honesty, vulnerability, and nuance, but certainly approached them like a battleground. Colleagues whispered that she treated every scene as a power play, constantly boasting about her Oscar-winning past, ignoring the director and interrupting scenes with moments not meant for her. On set, Sally tried to appear polite. She smiled through clenched teeth, achieving her goals and staying focused, but deep down, she felt exhausted. There was one particularly emotional scene that took 17 takes, not because Sally couldn't act well, but because Shirley refused to play it seriously. She kept adding sarcastic lines, turning the sadness into comedic material, as if diminishing Sally's emotional performance was part of the script. Many years later, Sally only briefly alluded to that clash in interviews, saying Shirley brought a cloud of chaos wherever she went. This statement wasn't bitter, but rather stated plainly. It wasn't just a conflict of style. It was a conflict of egos. Shirley needed to dominate the room, while Sally just wanted to serve the story. And the damage lingered long after the final cut. While the audience cried from Mayne's heartbreaking monologue, Sally knew the real pain unfolded off-camera. She never forgot that pain, but the next actor didn't just hurt her self-esteem. He broke her trust, the manipulator, James Woods. Their film Kiss Me Goodbye was meant to be light, humorous with a touch of quirkiness to charm the audience and provide relief. But from the very beginning, Sally Field felt something was off. That someone was James Woods. Woods, known for his intelligence but depth, carried an energy that turned cheerful scenes into psychological battles. He didn't just say the lines, he analyzed them, challenged the director, and often rewrote dialogue on the spot without warning. Each rehearsal became a battleground. Sally, who had always been a collaborative artist and emotionally honest, found herself overwhelmed. Later, she described Woods as having a frightening intellect. The kind of man who uses grandiose words and sharp expressions not to attract, but to assert dominance. On set, he questioned the script, criticized the director, and even commented on her acting between takes, creating a tense atmosphere that stifled creativity. But what worried Sally the most happened in real life. Woods, she said, often casually implied that she wasn't giving enough, that she wasn't truly committed to the work. He accused her of deliberately doing so on days that required a lot of emotion, a comment that cut deeper than he realized. With Sally, it felt more like sabotage than criticism. He wasn't pushing her to be better. Instead, he was trying to make her feel smaller and less confident. And after years of building respect in a male-dominated industry, this was truly a tough decision. That experience wasn't a test of acting, it was a psychological minefield. She mentioned it wasn't that role that exhausted her. It was the constant need to defend her worth. After that performance, she left not only feeling drained, but also feeling changed. She made a promise to herself. She would never let herself be silenced by a man who mistook condescension for intelligence again. Only one name remains. Perhaps the most surprising thing is the unexpected villain. Who is Dustin Hoffman? To the public, Dustin Hoffman is a legend, an actor synonymous with excellence, with performances that earned him golden Oscars and the respect of critics. But to Sally Field, he was someone completely different. Not a mentor, not a collaborator, just a bitter disappointment. They had never acted together in a feature film, but they almost crossed paths in the early 1980s during auditions for a now-forgotten project that never got developed. For Sally, this was seen as a promising opportunity. Instead, it became one of the most embarrassing experiences of her career. During the chemistry read, Sally said Hoffman had taken over the room before she even stepped in. He joked with the producers, made insightful comments about the script, And when she finally started reading, he interrupted her many times, not to help, not to collaborate, but to correct her phrasing, comment on her choices, and question her interpretation of the character in front of everyone. She was not only criticized, but also humiliated. According to Sally, it felt like auditioning for a man who had decided you weren't good enough. She described the feeling as being a high school girl rather than a two-time Emmy-winning actress who had proven her abilities on stage and screen. The pain was even deeper when that weekend she heard an acquaintance say that Hoffman had bragged about sabotaging the audition. Sources indicated he said there was no chemistry there, and he was sure of it. For Sally, that wasn't just unprofessional, it was cruel. It took her a while to come to terms with what had happened. For weeks, she wondered if she had missed her chance. But distance also brought clarity. The issue wasn't her performance. Hoffman wanted to control the room to prove he was the smartest person there, even if that meant overshadowing someone else's voice. Later, she called it one of the most humiliating moments she ever had to endure in her career, and it changed her forever. From that moment on, Sally vowed never to work with men who confuse arrogance with genius again. And she kept that promise.